So, as many of you know, I made this video of every Mario Kart track remix into one big medley. And, as many of you have told me time and time again, it's now outdated. So I figured, now that Mario Kart 8 is officially over, now is the time to go back in and make a completely new Every Song Is Here Mario Kart medley. That's going to take a while though. So I figured, in the meantime, a shorter project would probably be nice to remind you all that I exist. In preparation for making an entirely new Mario Kart medley from scratch, I've been listening to the series OST for weeks on end, and it's made me realize I have opinions. Like a lot of them. And as anyone who has opinions in a YouTube channel, I thought it could be fun to make a ranking of every Mario Kart track purely based on music. I feel like pretty much everyone is doing Mario Kart track rankings right now, but how many people are doing track music rankings, huh? Okay, some people have already done this. But as someone who's remixed a lot of Mario Kart songs, I thought it'd be fun to go through and decide which ones I think are great and which ones rank out. Okay, rules. There aren't really any. I'm going to rank every track from Super Mario Kart to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course, including Battle Mode tracks. I'll be lumping together all versions of tracks that have the exact same music. I mean, duh. It doesn't really make sense to rank Donut Plains 1 and Donut Plains 2 separately in this kind of ranking. Slightly more controversially, I'll be ranking all versions of a track together. Mainly, I'll be taking into consideration the original versions of a track theme and the Mario Kart 8 remix of said theme. Why just Mario Kart 8? Well, other games don't really remix their retro tracks, and if they do, they usually sound bad. Lastly, music is very subjective. I may dislike tracks you like, and vice versa. This series has so many great songs that I'm sure even something like Chocolate Island has a very intense fan base. Just remember the golden rule, Fred's opinion doesn't matter in the slightest. Anyways, with that said, let's begin. I'm Fred the Monty Mole, and this is every Mario Kart track ranked by its music. Except for the arcade games, I'm not counting those. Finishing in very last place is Black Plaza from Mario Kart Wii. I'm gonna be honest, this one just kinda sucks. The melody line is extremely high-pitched and annoying, and it's not like the melody line is particularly interesting to begin with. A pretty generic sequence in a pretty boring key. It's really hard to enjoy. I'm not really a fan of the percussion in this one either. The drum kit is just playing way too fast. Like, buddy, where's the fire? I do like when the piano eventually plays the Super Mario Kart motif. But as a whole, I'm not a fan of this one at all. Not a song I ever want to listen to. Barely avoiding last place is Banshee Boardwalk. I guess it's pretty good for a Ghost-themed track, for the most part. It's atmospheric, and the mallet instruments have those slightly out-of-sync broken chords, which sound successfully spooky. But then the strings come in and it just sounds bad. Like, everything's slightly out of tempo, and I get that it's supposed to sound creepy, but it just ends up sounding unpleasant. Ugh, no thanks. At the very least, it's not as actively painful as Black Plaza. There's nothing really wrong with DK's Jungle Parkway, but meh. The fast-paced marimba does invoke jungle, and the percussion is nice. There's really not a lot else to say about it. It doesn't really have anything clear to grab onto, and it's just kind of nice background noise, which is fine, but it also means this song scores low. Okay, I'd say those three songs are the only ones across the series that I flat out don't like. I think I like everything else at least a little bit. Anyways, the song I like a little bit the least is Yoshi Desert from Super Circuit. It's just a little generic. I like the intervals at the beginning and the role they play throughout the piece. There's some pretty fun harmonies in it. The rest is kind of unmemorable, Phrygian scale nonsense. Ghost Valley from Super Mario Kart is essentially just a far worse version of Mario World's Ghost House theme. The piece starts with that jarring, almost audio-clipping dissonant chord. Really makes you jump out of your seat if you're not expecting it. Music jump scare. Most of the song plays out exactly like Super Mario World's Ghost House theme, but the melody that plays in the bass is actually an original. It's interesting, but not that interesting. Besides that, it's pretty much exactly the same, but with a different sound font. 142nd place for you. The next piece plays in both Toad Circuit and Mario Circuit from Mario Kart 7. This is pretty low for like a circuit theme, but I really find Mario Kart 7's circuit theme pretty boring. Honestly, I'm just kinda tired of this style of circuit theme. It has a surprisingly slow tempo, especially for a racing game. The melody line is super bare bones during the A section and doesn't sound particularly great to begin with. The descending chords in the B section feel like something we've heard a million times before, ever since Mario Kart 64 did something similar with its circuit theme. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version doesn't do that much to help it, but the instrumentation is slightly better. It also introduces this wah-wah guitar to add some character to the song, playing some fun chords during the melody. Still, doesn't do enough to save this one from 141st place. I find Snowland kind of annoying. There's something especially grating about its overly cheesy melody line, like it's trying its best to be an obnoxious Christmas song you'd hear on the radio for the entire month of December. Gives me the song that never ends vibes. The only reason this song isn't even lower than it is already is that the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version really manages to improve it. The melody line is still annoying, but it adds a fun intro and some cheery flutes to accompany the melody. Still bottom of the barrel, at least to me. This one might be controversial. Who am I kidding? All of these are going to be controversial because every single one of these songs has like a million fans. But anyways, Koopa Troopa Beach from Mario Kart 64. I like that series of intervals the piano plays, but the bass and steel drum sections are kinda boring. The melody line for the most part just feels like a descending major scale. The B section is also super forgettable. In the end, this one's really not bad, but there are loads better. For whatever reason, Mario Kart 7's battle theme has 3 very similar versions depending on the track you're playing on. I think the main difference is just the instrumentation. Honeybee Hive is mostly a piano and horn duet, Sherbert Rink is very harpsichord focused, and Woohoo Town has a lot of synths and some weird sounding horns. I'm just going to rank them all together for simplicity's sake. The jazzy elements are fun, but I don't particularly care for the melody. This one's just kind of unremarkable, and that's really all there is to it. These Mario Kart 64 songs sure are repetitive. Mario Kart 64 fans, please don't hurt me. The chord progression in Calamari Desert is simple but fun, and I like the bass pattern, even if it never changes. I don't think it changes once. But yeah, it's very samey. I can't justify putting it much higher than this when there's so many great tracks in this franchise. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version isn't particularly worth talking about, it just updates the instrumentation slightly, and that's not really enough to elevate this piece into something greater. Although, now that I listen to it again, it does change the bass line ever so slightly. Good for you, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Still 137th place. Man, some of these Mario Kart Wii battle tracks are just so strange. At least one can say they're unique. Funky Stadium also falls into this category. It's funky, as the name suggests, like the music director definitely got that right. But it's also kind of bare bones. They do that like sampled Mellotron sounding stinger thing in this one. Did that string of words make sense? But besides that and the funky bass, this one doesn't really do anything that wows me. Continuing on, we have yet another Mario Kart Wii battle track. Chain Chomp Roulette is at least more interesting than Funky Stadium, but not by much. Very casino. I guess that's what they were going for, but it just kind of sounds gross. I like the boogie woogie bass pattern, but the horns just all kind of sound unfortunate. Alright, next is Woohoo Loop and Maka Woohoo. This is the first, well okay, not really if you count Ghost Valley, of the tracks that are just remixes of other Nintendo songs. And yeah, this one's kind of dull. I like the overdriven guitar that opens it, and the peppy horn intro, but once it gets to the main section I kind of lose interest. It's just a little slow paced, and the melody line isn't interesting enough to justify its ambling nature. I like the piano part at the end of the B section and the way the strings build up, but not enough. Enjoy 134th place, Woohoo Island. Alright, first Mario Kart Tour song. I should probably mention that I'm primarily going to be looking at the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of these tour songs, just because I'm not super familiar with Mario Kart Tour, so the only way I really know these songs is through Mario Kart 8 DLC. Sorry Mario Kart Tour fans, I don't really want to play it. Surprising probably no one, I think Tokyo Blur is probably the weakest of the tour songs. It's certainly not bad by any standard, but the main section doesn't really stick with me, although I do like the piano chords and the accompanying horns. The sax is also pretty great, and the section after that is really nice, but definitely too reminiscent of Mario Kart 64's circuit theme with its descending chords. But, yeah, that's it. There's not really a lot to say about this one. Up next we have another tour song, Merry Mountain. Or is it Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? I feel like some of these tracks could be claimed by either. I don't really like this one. It's very generically Christmas, like way overly schmaltzy. I like the piano and string runs during the B section, and the accordion part is nice. It feels like it'd be more at home acting as, like, the Wii U eShop theme for when the holidays roll around. Okay, this is where it's going to become obvious that I don't particularly care for the Mario Kart 64 soundtrack. The melody in Mario Kart 64's battle theme is fun, even if it's pretty simple, but so much of this one is just waiting. So many chunks of just the bass and some sparse chords over the percussion. Like, what the hell is happening right here? It's not horrible, but it certainly is 131st place. Coming in last place of all of the Bowser's Castle themes is Double Dash's Bowser's Castle. Congratulations! It's also last of the Double Dash courses. Maybe this is controversial, but I don't really like this one. I think it's kind of weak. The chorus at the beginning doesn't sound nearly as good as Mario Kart 64's Bowser's Castle. The dissonant organ is fun, and the melody that plays over top is kind of iconic and ominous, but it's all pretty basic. It sounds like the piece is building to something at times, only for it to just loop before anything cool happens. Sorry Double Dash Bowser's Castle, I just wasn't a fan. Speaking of organ-heavy pieces, next is DS Luigi's Mansion. The chord progression is kind of similar, but otherwise this song has absolutely nothing to do with the original Luigi's Mansion, which is probably for the best for originality's sake, but as a bit of a Luigi's Mansion fan, I was always kind of disappointed by that. Either way, this one doesn't sound great. Hot take? Perhaps. I like the organ intro, but something about the main section just sounds weirdly out of sync. Like, I feel like the bass chords and melody line aren't all coming in on the exact same beat. The instrumentation feels very lacking to me. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of this song is by far the superior version, and is the reason this one's not even further down the list. Up next, Daisy Hills. The energy of this one is very fun. Feels Bavarian, or Dutch, or something like that. Happy-go-lucky accordion chords are fun, and I like that faint horn in the background. I also really enjoy this really quick run of notes. But this one just doesn't have that wow factor that a lot of Mario Kart songs do. Not really a catchy melody or a unique premise, just a song for a nice little jaunt through the hills. I'm admittedly not the biggest fan of Ribbon Road from Super Circuit. It doesn't really fit in with the theme of the course in a significant way, and it's just kind of unmemorable all around. In fact, I forgot to write this section for the video and didn't even notice until I was in the editing phase. There's a lot of samey elements here, from that never-ending bass pattern to the xylophone droning on in the upper register. I do like this quick, snappy section near the end, though. The Mario Kart 8 version of the song makes some pretty big changes, including shifting the key of the entire piece. This might be the only retro course theme in all of Mario Kart that does that. Don't quote me on that, though. This remix takes a lot of creative liberties, similarly to the course itself when compared to the original. I like this new version, but it doesn't do enough to get Ribbon Road higher than 127th place. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's music for Woohoo Town is definitely a more interesting remix than the Woohoo music in 7, but it still doesn't speak to me on that great of a level. I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of these track themes that are remixes from other games, especially if they don't do anything particularly interesting with the piece. This one definitely has a more upbeat, frantic feel to it than the real Wii Sports theme, and I do appreciate that, but I don't know. I really don't have much more to say about it other than that. Maybe I just don't really like a lot of Mario Kart's desert themes, but Desert Hills from Mario Kart DS is very boring to me. The melody is extremely uncreative, with a very stereotypical deserty scale, usually based on this scale, which is called a Phrygian scalar mode, or occasionally this scale, which is called a Phrygian dominant scalar mode, which is played in every desert level known to man. The instrumentation is unappealing, really just consisting of a sparse bass pattern, some bad sounding guitars, and the melody line over top. Nothing to grip onto, nothing particularly interesting about this one. I rank it low. Super Mario Kart's theme for Bowser's Castle 1, 2, and 3 all use the same song, which is a remix of the final battle theme from Super Mario World. I enjoy the ascending perfect fourths in the beginning. I also really like the orchestra hits and the dissonant chords, but despite all of this song isn't particularly incredible. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version, though, oh man. This has to be one of the biggest glow-ups a track theme has ever had. The electric guitars sound so good and fit with the track's updated visuals to look more intense. If not for this remix, this track would have scored a lot lower. This may be a little controversial, just because this is a big track theme. Anyways, in 123rd place, it's Mario Kart 64's Raceway theme, which plays in Mario Raceway, Luigi Raceway, Royal Raceway, and Wario Stadium. Now, I do like its funky beat, its swingy melody, and its descending chord part in the B section, but I don't know, I feel like this series gets way better with its music. And this one just has some really weak elements. The C section? The this part? Who cares? Completely unmemorable. The bass pattern never, ever changes. And it's cool, I get the repetitiveness was a purposeful choice, but it just drones on for so long. The Mario Kart 8 version isn't particularly worth mentioning. Similar repetitive melody and bass with some added funky chords in the A section, and a little secondary melody in the B section. Mario Kart 64's Raceway theme is a classic and a bop, but I also think there are 122 better Mario Kart track themes than this one. Alright, what's the worst song I think is still better than Mario Kart 64's Raceway theme? Bangkok Rush, of course! This Mario Kart Tour song is fine. As with most modern Mario Kart music, it's very jazzy, with a mix of some more traditional instruments, like the gamelan, but the melody isn't particularly wowing, and it's just not as exciting as some of the other Tour City tracks. It can rest around here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Battle Stadium is pretty okay. Honestly, it's a pretty by-the-numbers battle theme. It almost feels like they tried to reverse engineer the battle themes from the older Mario Karts, because it really fits in alongside Super Mario Kart and Super Circuits. I like the weird horn synth solo near the end, but overall, unmemorable and not particularly impressive. Another Bowser's Castle theme? This early? This time from Mario Kart DS. I really like the bass in this one. That deep, crunchy synth bass just shakes you to your core, but the rest is meh. The melody's not particularly great, the instrumentation leaves a lot to be desired, and it's pretty weak compared to a lot of the other Bowser's Castle themes. There's a lot of ambling, especially near the end before the loop. Sorry Mario Kart DS, I'm just not that impressed. Bringing in the coveted 119th place is Super Circuit's battle theme. It's got a nice boogie-woogie thing going for it, but it doesn't stand out particularly well. The bass is boring, the melody is pretty boring, but damn do I love that B section. I like the electric guitar playing the melody and the square waves with those fun moving chords, but the ending kinda falls flat again. Next. Koopa Beach 1 and 2 are next with this fun, beachy theme. I always found the chords in this one to be a little annoying, but I love when the song plays that minor version of the melody before resolving the chord progression in a very satisfying way. Other than that, not a lot to say. Ah, yeah, Splatoon! I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about Splatoon. I have no idea how heavily remixed this song is. For all I can tell, it sounds a lot like the original. Okay, after a comparison, they do sound slightly different, so this is an original remix. Neat. It doesn't do anything particularly interesting with the Splatoon theme, I don't think, especially when compared to the remixes of the other guest starring series. I like when there's only a minute left, it plays that other Splatoon song, you know the one. Either way, this sounds great, but I feel as if I can't score it too high due to it really just being that one Splatoon song, you know the one, without really changing it that much. Cheep Cheep Beach doesn't really do much to differentiate itself from the other beach tracks. It does sound nice though, and I like the noises that come from, what, it's like a guitar sample? It sounds like a wild animal or something. The steel drum does sound pretty good in this one, but I just don't like it well enough to give it any more points than this. Kudos to the Mario Kart 8 version for managing to sound nearly exactly the same. Riverside Park. I have no idea why this song and Lakeside Park are so similar. Why not just reuse the track? I guess I'm not complaining. This one feels like it's supposed to invoke Donkey Kong a little bit, especially with the melody line which starts off very similarly. Lot of Kong in this one. There's not really much to it. The intro is pretty long, and once it starts, it just feels like it ends immediately. I guess it's supposed to mirror the long build-up in DK Island Swing? Who knows? It's pretty cool. I'm gonna give the edge to Lakeside Park here. It gets to the point faster than Riverside Park, and I really like the repeated note pattern in the upper register. It also invokes a certain urgency that fits well with the erupting volcano. It's pretty cool. My tirade against desert songs continues. I always had a vendetta against Dry Dry Desert as a kid because I wanted it to sound more like Dry Dry Desert from Paper Mario. Anyways, another stereotypical desert piece. I do like the chromatic melody in this one, and the sitar sample is pretty pleasant on the ears. Mario Kart 8 version is barely worth mentioning, they're very similar, but it does fill out the instrumentation a little better. We're deep in the section of Mario Kart track themes I just don't have a lot to say about. Yeehaw! Choco Mountain has all the makings of a mighty fine hoedown. The main melody is honestly kinda boring, but man, that B section goes pretty hard. The never-ending banjo in the upper register just makes it sound like an exciting chase scene in the Wild West. This piece is definitely fitting it coming round the mountain. And the C section, the ending, what the hell is that? It might as well not exist, it's so bland and forgettable. I still do like this one though, and quite a bit too. And now we've got more desert. Bone Dry Dunes is more of the same, I hate to admit. It's certainly one of the better desert tracks, but still not the best. I really just kind of feel like it's going through the motions of what a desert track is supposed to sound like, especially with its melody line. I like the very smooth and step-based melody during this B section. Overall, just, yep, I'm in the desert. Gotta love that New York jazz. This one's pretty basic, but it's not horrible. The clarinet makes it sound oddly very New York. I wonder what the association is. I like when the piece builds up in that second section, making it sound like the piece is about to go somewhere very exciting. But then it just kind of plays the main melody again, which is kind of a shame. In my heart, it would play like a more sinister, minor version of the melody here. Water Park is one of the less memorable Mario Kart 8 tracks, at least in my opinion. It's giving Little Mermaid. I guess they're both very Calypso inspired, but the association feels very strong. It's almost like an Under the Sea style parody. I like the use of the steel drums in this, and it does invoke the image of a water park. Rome Avanti doesn't really scream Rome at me like some of the other tour tracks do with their home cities. I do like when the accordion kicks in, and those really fast plucked strings do invoke the image of an Italian plaza, but nothing about this one really grips me. Wow, I really have little to say about Super Circuit's circuit theme. It's jazzy, it's big bandy, it's got some fun moving melody lines to it that aren't afraid to take off in a wild direction-y. It's Super Circuit Circuit. Ah, Paris. Definitely feels French. I like the ever so scarce in Mario Kart 3-4 time signature. Really makes you feel like you're strolling down the promenade doing some shopping. I also like when that violin comes in. If only France were real. Yoshi Falls kinda slaps. I like the kalimba a lot. It's not the most bombastic piece in the world, and it does sound kind of similar to DK Mountain from the previous game, but that doesn't mean I don't really enjoy it. Especially the B section. The melody line just sounds so happy. Los Angeles Laps is pretty good. The melody line is simple, but not in a bad way. I like how it opens on the main melody with those huge breaks in the percussion. I also like the jump from the horns playing the melody to a way more synthy horn instrument. The bass is also pretty funky. The B section I can live without, and it loops pretty quickly after that. Not one of the best tour tracks, but certainly not one of the worst. Peach Gardens was the first Mario Kart track to not be in 4/4 time. At least I'm pretty sure. That alone gives this one points for uniqueness, even if 3/4 isn't like the craziest time signature. I'm just surprised it took them this long. I'm not the biggest fan of the Mario Kart DS sound font, especially the bass, but this one still sounds fun and posh. It definitely fits the feeling of racing through a royal garden. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of the song definitely helps with the jankiness that is the Mario Kart DS sound font, and it adds some really fun flute flourishes. Say that 10 times fast. DK Mountain / Dino Dino Jungle is definitely one of the more fun jungle themes in the series. It feels a little bare bones at times, especially when it's just the melody line with a little chord support and percussion, no real bass section to speak of. The percussion is also just a little too bassed up. Like, it's clipping the audio a smidge in a way that hurts my brain to hear. But it definitely invokes the feeling of being in a jungle. And the melody line is really catchy. The Mario Kart 8 version is pretty much more of the same, with some updates to the instrumentation. I like Toad Harbor. It definitely fits with the theme of running through a clearly inspired by San Fran despite having a Statue of Liberty harbor, a CIBSFDHASOL type level, if you will. The steel drum helps it feel slightly beachy and vacation-y, while the main guitar plays such a fun tune. Not the most exciting melody line ever, but I like the key change, and it really makes me want to take a vacation. And with that, we've reached the top 100 Mario Kart track themes. Let's see what gets the cut first. And it's Boo Lake / Broken Pier. Hey, it did way better than a lot of the other Ghost tracks. It uses the same motif as Ghost Valley from Super Mario Kart and Banshee Boardwalk from Mario Kart 64, and it somehow manages to outshine both. The bells in the upper register sound so spooky and ethereal, it really makes the piece work. The subtle octave trick it does is sublime. I think the GBA sound font of Super Circuit really plays in its favor. This is the first instance so far where I like the original more than the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version. The instrumentation in that one is really good, and it introduces some creepy low droning strings, as well as some spooky ornaments. There's also an organ. I don't know, it all sounds a little bit much, but the original? Perfection. Well, not perfection per se, considering I think there's 99 better themes, but you catch my meaning. Frap Snowland / Sherbertland is another saccharine-filled ice level that's supposed to invoke feelings of jolly holidays and good times. And I don't know, I kinda like it. I really enjoy the flute sample used for the main melody, but this piece suffers from Mario Kart 64's biggest musical issue, repetitive bass patterns. They get one idea they like and they go with it for way too long. The chord pattern also feels very repetitive, and the chords often mesh with the melody. I like a little bit of dissonance, but it feels strange in what's supposed to be a happy-go-lucky winter theme. Ah well, still a good one. When Mario Kart wants to do a beach theme, they really like to keep themselves in a box. Shy Guy Beach / Cheap Cheap Island is pretty fun, all things considered. I like the part in the A section when everything comes to a halt when the melody line pauses, and the B section goes really hard, the melody coupled with these bombastic horn flourishes that just sound so triumphant. Big fan of this one. Well, considering its placement, medium fan of this one. Wario Shipyard has some cool references to Wario Land music, and the electric guitar is slamming. But other than that, The bass pattern is cool, and I like the dissonant and weird E-piano chords that play underneath, but this whole thing just feels a little empty to me. Like it's the sort of piece that just happens to you. I do like this part near the end though. Rock Mountain is pretty fun. It sounds like a 50s rock sock hop kind of deal. The electric guitars are really nice. I guess they took the name Rock Mountain literally. And these quick descending chords remind me again of, that's right, Mario Kart 64's Raceway theme. They do sound fun and new agey. And I like the part directly after them, with the climbing melody line. It's fun, but not particularly memorable. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of the song is very similar and therefore barely worth mentioning. The battle theme for Mario Kart DS is a very fun one. It's got some funkiness to it, and does a lot of interesting things with its instruments. I especially love the B section, and that bass is absolutely killer. It sounds very Mario Kart DS. It's kind of like the quintessential Mario Kart DS sound, whatever I mean by that, but it's good. I like it. I don't have much to say about it. Yoshi's Island, baby! Similar to the remix of that one song from Splatoon, you know the one, I feel bad ranking this one too high when it doesn't do that much with the source material, but it just sounds great, so punchy and fun. If it wasn't for the fact that it's basically just a reorchestration of the original, this one would be a lot higher. But, I don't know, I just feel like I can't justify putting it much higher than, say, 94th place. Shy Guy Bazaar is definitely one of the more interesting deserty tracks. The tone of this piece is unique. There's almost something somber about it. I don't know why, this one just makes me feel things. Sadness? Despair? I especially like the B section, it really feels like the bridge of a pop song. And then the song gets a little mysterious and tense before looping back to the beginning. Overall, this one's pretty nice. Piranha Plant Pipeline is the only track theme from Tour that didn't make it into Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, which means I actually have to listen to a song from Mario Kart Tour. Got so close to being able to ignore it outright. Anyways, this one's pretty schmoovin'. I like the quick jazzy run in the intro, and the fast-paced melody is really fun. Gives a certain sense of urgency while you're diving down the pipes. I don't know, as of me writing the script and recording this dialogue, I've never seen gameplay of this one because I try not to look at Mario Kart Tour if I can avoid it. I like the ascension of these descending steps at the end. Makes you feel like you're making your way back to the top. This is a really fun Mario Kart song from a course I know practically nothing about. Steel drum? A laid-back bass pattern? Some mellow guitar? Must be yet another Mario Kart beach track. I do like the music for Peach Beach and Daisy Cruiser, but man did they really have a vision for what the beach should sound like. I like the arpeggiated guitar part, but I really have a hard time differentiating between this and the other similar beach tracks. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version does add some really nice sounding strings. It makes it sound almost like some fancy vacation. I probably would have put this one lower if not for Mario Kart 8's wonderful remix. Sunset Wilds is a pretty disappointing track theme. The instrumentation really doesn't do it much justice. The opening bit just sounds weak. I don't really like the horn sample used. And the melody section just sounds a little barren, repetitive bass, not very interesting melody, banjo used not nearly enough. And then the minor section near the end just sounds so anticlimactic. This piece would be pretty low if it wasn't for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version, which is way better. This is Mario Kart 8 remixes at their best, allowing a song to reach its full potential. The trumpet at the beginning sounds way better than the weak horn from the original. And listen to the banjo go in that second part. We have a bona fide hoedown on our hands. Also, the minor section near the end sounds way more consequential. Like, oh we have some tension here. We having a shootout, partner? Anyways, original Sunset Wilds, bad. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Sunset Wilds, great piece. Ah, Donut Plains, another classic. I've never been a big fan of the melody at the beginning, but I do like when the piece goes minor. And the runs on the piano in the second section are neat. The chords throughout are really nice, and honestly, I'm not that big a fan of the Mario Kart 8 version of this one. The organ just doesn't sound that great to me, and it really dominates the whole song, pretty much taking over the entire melody line. Cheep Cheep Lagoon from Mario Kart 7 is another steel drummy, tropical piece. This one at the very least has a bit faster of a tempo from the other beach themes, and I think the direction the song takes is far more interesting than most of the other beach themes in the series. I especially love this part right before the loop. Those broken steel drum chords sound so good against the bass line. Other than that, not much else to say. DK Pass! I love the fiddle intro. This piece really makes you feel like you're a mountaineer. The melody is simple and not particularly challenging, but that's what makes it feel so happy and carefree. This whole song kind of takes you on a journey, because after that main section, the bridge builds things up until you reach the chorus, which just sounds so pleasant and happy as you drive down the old mountain. Bowser's Castle from Mario Kart 7 is alright. Middling Bowser's Castle. There are certainly ones I rank lower. I like the descending pattern near the start, and I like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I like how the guitars add some contrast to this part later. It's cool that it incorporates Double Dash's Bowser's Castle theme, and in a way more interesting way than Double Dash ever used it, putting the melody against this slowly rising series of chords. But that's all there really is to this one. Okay, now we're getting to the part where I really enjoy all of the remaining songs. Starting off with Mario Kart 8's Mario Circuit at 85. There's really nothing about this one I don't like, and it's a really solid version of Mario Kart Stadium's theme. While that song is sweeping and clean, feeling fitting for being in a massive stadium, this one feels more casual and a bit funky. I'm not really a big fan of the main synth that plays the melody line, but I really like the use of the clav in the build up to this piece's climax. And, as always, that Mario Kart 8 sax sounds amazing. Play me out, sax. Okay, maybe it's a little silly to rank such a short and not particularly consequential piece like Vanilla Lake this high. It really doesn't do a lot before looping. It plays the same theme twice, with the second time having some more flourishes and having a more definitive ending. But I don't know, I think this one's really cute. I absolutely love the bells/mallets used in the song, and the accompanying piano just elevates it so much. This one just makes me feel happy. Happy enough for 84th place. Another piece I think is a tad overrated, Mushroom Gorge from Mario Kart Wii. Mushroom Gorge is fine. I really like the main melody line and the chord progression of that main section. I love any minor song that goes from the minor 1 chord to the major 3, I'm human. I also love when the harmony comes in to join the melody line, but the B section is very forgettable. Actually, everything besides that first handful of measures is pretty forgettable to me. Shout out to the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version for trying to keep things as faithful to the original as possible. The main difference I notice are those acoustic guitar chords that really pop out. I like them. Anyways, moving on. Moo Moo Farm/Yoshi Valley is so fun. The banjo makes this feel like a complete hootenanny, and the melody line is successfully fast and chaotic, making it perfectly fitting for the maze-like structure of Yoshi Valley. I love that the banjo never stops, just constantly droning in the background, and I absolutely love the fiddle solo they added to the end of the piece for the Mario Kart 8 version. It just makes the finale of this song feel so rewarding, like winning first place at the Square Dancin' tournament. Thanks for the consistently solid bluegrass, Mario Kart. Next up, Super Mario Kart's battle theme. I love the intro a lot, probably more than I like the rest of this piece. The A section has a pretty boring chord progression as much as I like the bass lick, but when the chord starts going crazy, it gets fun. It does loop before it gets anywhere too fun, and I find the loop itself a little clunky, just suddenly we end up back in the original key. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version is good, but I don't like the synths as much as the original SNES sound font. Overall, I do like the original better, but the MK8D version is also a nice time. Honestly, I don't find London Loop particularly memorable, and I don't have too much to say about it. I like the nod to British invasion rock, but it just feels like an inconsequential rock song. The wailing guitar in the B section doesn't do much for me, but I do love that quick chord progression for the ending bit. It really ties everything together in a satisfying way. But then, it's over. Just like me talking about London Loop. I like Ice Ice Outpost, although I do think the main section is kind of boring. Very simple melody without a whole lot of interesting instruments. But when it changes slightly and we get to that minor section, my head always perks up. Like, okay Ice Ice Outpost, now you have my attention. But it doesn't stay there too long before returning back to the slightly bland A section. Piranha Plant Cove is really good. That main melody sticks with me to this day. It's so bouncy and adventurous. Feels like it should be playing for a sea captain or a brave explorer. But I can take or leave the rest of it. It's exciting enough, but not nearly as so as that first part. Overall, this one hits really, really well. Great use of the flute and steel drums. Bowser's Castle from Mario Kart 8 is a really exciting Bowser's Castle theme, but still not my personal favorite. The guitar sounds nice and intense, but the melody is honestly pretty uninteresting. Sounds like something you could come up with after noodling around for like 10 minutes. The incorporation of bass and guitar together always sounds great, though especially when it's Mario Kart doing it. But this piece doesn't really do it for me that much. Twisted Mansion actually used to be my favorite Mario Kart 8 theme, and now, 74th place. It's a fun one. It feels spooky, but not in an actual creepy way, more like some sort of theme park ride akin to Haunted Mansion. The violin sounds great and the vocals really help this one ascend. The chromatic melody played by the theremin and later the violin is simple yet effective, and doesn't sound that different from most Mario Ghost House melodies. I do love when the church organ plays a major version of the melody briefly in the middle. Good show. As with a lot of Mario Kart 64's music, Toad's Turnpike has a lot of repetitive bits, but I think it actually works really well for this style of song. There's something almost Philip Glassy about this one. Those arpeggiated runs of notes that accompany the melody are almost hypnotic, and I love the new age melody that takes the lead. This is a great example of how to do repetition right. Mario Kart 8 did this one too, but I don't find it particularly worth mentioning. It's pretty much the same. The intro to Lunar Colony kinda rules, with those extremely short and punchy synth notes. I like how distinct it feels from Mario Kart 8's real Rainbow Road theme. And I also really like the guitar solo in this one. Successful battle track. Very little worth mentioning about it. There's something almost thrilling about Sky High Sundae, and I'm not quite sure how they managed to accomplish that. It's something about those slightly dissonant string chords that accompany the melody line. Definitely fits for a course where you're racing high up in the sky. The punchy synth section right before the end sounds great to me. Reminds me of Paper Mario for some reason. And I love when the main melody returns to play over it. Overall, a very successful piece. Music Park is a classic. I love the blown out melody line. And the piano, marimba, and vibraphone additions when you ride over the respective instruments are such a neat touch. The melody line isn't anything too crazy, but the filters on all the instruments make it sound fantastic. I love the low cut frequency, making everything sound very tinny, but in a good way. I like this. The Mario Kart 8 remix is barely worth mentioning because it's very similar. I always thought that counting guy was KK Slider. Wondered what he was doing in this game. DK Summit is fun. Rather than the other snow pieces which typically tried to invoke some sort of cozy, family-friendly Christmas special, this one definitely feels more like something you'd hear while snowboarding, which goes along with the theme of this track. The melody line instrument is weird, very gurgly. I like the B section, feels really fitting for flying down the slopes, but this piece doesn't do much before looping besides these two sections. It's fun, but there's better. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version is interesting. They replaced that odd melody synth with an electric guitar, removing some of the song's uniqueness, but not really making it a worse song. Both versions are fun. Mario Kart DS has one of the better circuit themes. I think the main part does feel a little samey compared to the other circuit and raceway tracks. They just, I don't know, really like this kind of sound for this kind of course. But I really like the chorus. It feels so happy and triumphant, like you're just flying down the road without a care in the world, breeze in your face. The bass? also rocks. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version is interesting. Whereas the DK Summit remix made the song less crunchy, this one they really decided to lead into the crunch. Bold choice. Honestly, I like it a lot less. The chorus sounds a lot less exciting. DS Mario Kart scores a point there. Rarely happens, honestly. Excite Bike Arena is a fun take on an already exciting piece of music. The use of the chiptune throughout really worked for this piece. They managed to make a ton of fun sounds using just a few simple square and triangle waves. The whole piece is really exciting, especially in the final section that everything builds up to. This song rules. There's something very heroic and mythic about Athens Dash, very fitting for Greece. The song makes you feel like you're some sort of ancient Greek hero, and the use of the mandolin, or dulcimer, or something else entirely, is great. Ties the piece to the home country perfectly. Really good stuff. Okay, this is the absolute highest I can justify putting Baby Park, as much as I love it. Baby Park is an obnoxiously amazing, extremely chaotic course, and this music fits it perfectly. It's short and repetitive, but that's the point. It's annoying by design in a way that somehow works. The da-da-da-da part almost sounds like the song is mocking you as you play. And the fact that the song's key shifts up a half step every lap is genius, just adding to the comedy that is Baby Park. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version doesn't do that much to raise my opinion. In fact, I think I like it less than the original. The main melody is played by the electric guitar, and I just don't think that's the right choice for Baby Park. So yeah, I think 67th is a good place for this one. Mario Kart Wii has one of the better circuit themes in the series. Like many of the others, it's a souped up version of the game's main theme. It's pretty fun. I especially like the section at the end. That melody line always gets me pumped. And I love the organ that plays underneath, although I think this particular melody line is done better in a song we will see further down the list. Dragon Driftway and Dragon Palace are essentially the same, so we're gonna do them both together. There's some really cool traditional instruments that play here, such as the erhu, which is a Chinese instrument with two strings that sound similar to the violin. These traditional instruments are mixed well with the electric guitar and bass, creating a cool fusion of sounds. The melody is derived from the pentatonic scale, which is a scale often used in Chinese music throughout history, which really helps make the song feel congruent with the theme of the dragon-clad track. Overall, this was a successful venture in creating something that sounds like a modern update on traditional Chinese music. The music for Waluigi Stadium and Wario Coliseum definitely has the feel of some sort of demolition derby, which is perfect for the Wario friends. I love that intro. The bass pattern really jumps out at you. It's a fun and fast-paced piece, but the melody line is kinda boring. There's nothing particularly iconic to grab onto. I kind of like the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version and how it took the piece in such a different direction. The trumpet lead sounds so different from the trumpet sample from the original, but having a real instrument really makes it different for this one, in a positive way. I love the tick-tock clock intro. No percussion or anything, just some bumbly xylophone octaves reminiscent of clockwork. And listen to the way they slowly get out of sync, like a timepiece slowly losing its accuracy. Despite sounding nothing like Tick-Tock Clock from Mario 64, this piece somehow manages to perfectly invoke the feeling of racing through a bunch of clockwork. I love how short the chords are that play behind the melody, and I just love how strange the B section is, everything getting more dissonant as it goes. Mario Kart 8's version of the piece weirdly ruins the desyncing at the beginning of the piece, which is a little bit of a shame, I think. Although the percussion in this one is great, a lot of various clanging and banging, making you feel like there's a lot of moving pieces working around you. I think I like the different versions about the same, but I'd give the edge to Mario Kart DS's. 8's just sounds a smidge overproduced. Sunshine Airport certainly sounds very airport, and I mean that as a compliment, I think. I like the two main chords. Switching between E major and G major chords just has this slight off-putting nature to it that makes it unexpected but also sounds great. Makes me feel like I'm waiting in line at security. And I love the second iteration of the main melody in a slightly different key. They take away the bass and pretty much all of the instruments have a high register, making it feel like you're soaring through the sky. I don't know how they managed to make this one sound so confidently airport, but they did it, goddammit. Potentially more inbound controversy, at 62 is our very first Rainbow Road. And last place amongst the Rainbow Road themes is Mario Kart DS. Yeah, I'm sorry Mario Kart DS Rainbow Road fans, this one's just not really it for me. It's a very by-the-numbers Rainbow Road. It plays it really safe, and because of that the main melody just ends up sounding really bland, and the accompaniment also just leaves me disinterested. I do like the chorus, but this song loops so fast. It barely has time to do anything before we're back at the start. And it wouldn't be a problem if the song were just slightly more interesting. Oh well, it's not like 62nd place is that bad in a series with a lot of tracks and a lot of really good music. Let's just move on. Grumble Volcano is a fast-paced, dangerous course that takes place amidst the eruption of an active volcano, and the music complements this perfectly. I have no idea who decided that sitar worked well to accompany lava in video games, but it works really nicely in this song. I really like how much of this piece is in a really low register, fitting of the name Grumble Volcano, and the sudden key change is really menacing. Successfully scary piece, but not one I'd ever really choose to listen to. It suits its purpose perfectly. The Mario Kart 8 version of the song sounds nearly identical, so it's barely worth talking about. Animal Crossing has 4 different versions depending on the season? Man, they went all out. Click Clock, Nook. I think it's really cool that each version includes a different Animal Crossing song in it, and the main melody line is such a punchy and fun version of the Animal Crossing New Leaf title theme, perfect for going over the speed limit in a quaint seaside town. Each version's instrumentation matches its season well, from the plucky and upbeat nature of spring to the serene and dulcet tones of winter. Squeaky Clean Sprint sounds amazing. It doesn't necessarily feel befitting of a bathroom chorus, but that almost makes it funnier. It feels more like something Frank Sinatra would sing along to, and yet here it is, playing as Mario and friends race atop the toilet. The grandness of the piece lives in a really funny contrast to the course itself. My favorite part is the climax of the piece. That jazzed up melody is just so satisfying as you're blazing through the course. Very nicely done. Okay, time for what might be my most controversial opinion on this entire list. In 57th place, Double Dash Rainbow Road. I find the melody line really kinda lackluster, and the B section is just kind of nothing. Just build up to the Mario Kart 64 Rainbow Road theme used for the end of the piece. Everything about this song is solid, it just doesn't wow me in the way that it seems to wow others. Like, the most noticeable part is just a reuse of a different Rainbow Road theme. Double Dash's Rainbow Road theme is certainly great, but it's one of the weaker Rainbow Road themes in the series. Speaking of which... Yeah, I don't know. I slightly prefer Super Circuit's Rainbow Road theme to Double Dash's. I like the Super Mario Kart Rainbow Road theme in the opening, the very first instance of nostalgia baiting in Rainbow Road themes. I don't particularly care for the A section. It's kind of boring, just some sparse bits of unmemorable melody with not much going on. But then, it builds up. The piece starts to ramp up, the melody line ascending quickly, only to reach another kind of boring section. But then, God, the ending is so exciting. Everything cuts out, bam, just the melody. Then the horns come in. The high-pitched square wave. Then the percussion joins. Finally, everything comes together and plays such a heartwarming piece, just the kind of music that makes you feel like you can accomplish anything. I think the main problem with this is that it's too long. Like, you'll barely get to hear any of the ending section, which is the best part. Overall, GBA Rainbow Road has some boring bits, but also an amazing, awe-inspiring ending. For all the flack I've given Mario Kart 64's OST, it actually has one of my favorite Bowser's Castle themes. I feel like Bowser's Castle themes tend to either be really bombastic, with raging electric guitars and adrenaline-thumping beats, or more subdued with their menacing auras, laden with chilling chords and sinister, droning notes. Mario Kart 64's Bowser's Castle is definitely more of the latter, and it does such a good job of being so. The song opens with a spine-tingling, droning note, before the chorus joins in. Its descending chords just feel so ominous, perfect for such a dangerous, evil land. The big chorus bits of this song are expertly written, each one sounds both ethereal and beautiful. They did good with this one. And we're back with more Rainbow Road. Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road is my 5th favorite Rainbow Road theme. The melody line isn't anything particularly special. In fact, it's pretty by the numbers, but god damn it, I love when the B section kicks in with that synth. It just sounds so beautiful and fitting for flying through space. It and the electric guitar play off each other very nicely. This is a surprisingly short Rainbow Road theme, but it still manages to get a lot done. It can go around here. Okay, with half of the Rainbow Roads out, let's move on. Rosalina's Ice World is tonally very, very different from the rest of the Snow Track songs. Rather than having a festive, holiday-sounding aesthetic like DK Pass or Vanilla Lake, or a cool electro-rock vibe like DK Summit, Rosalina's Ice World is melancholy, somber. The loud, sustained piano notes deep in the bass give me goosebumps, and there's something decidedly sad about the melody. Even when things pick up and get a little more cheery, there's something just sad about it. It's extremely unique, and I think it works really well. I love when Mario Kart breaks the mold for its theme tracks. Not every snow theme needs a happy flute and a cozy accordion. Thank you, Rosalina, for this banger. I like to think she made it. I've always had a soft spot for Big Blue, and this version doesn't disappoint. When I say that Mario Kart songs that are remixes from other games need to elevate their original song to be worthwhile, this is what I'm talking about. The use of the electric guitar and the saxophone together really make this feel like it's Mario Kart 8's spin on F-Zero, which gives the piece a completely unique identity. They also perform some absolutely rockin' solos for this one. Great remix. And speaking of Mario Kart 8 remixes of songs from other games, Hyrule Circuit is awesome. I love this song. It's like a little medley of Zelda music. I love the use of the main theme, followed by the little snippet of Twilight Princess Hyrule Field, then Zelda's theme, finally capping off with the opening of Ocarina's Hyrule Field. And while it cycles through all these Zelda songs, it manages to still have all the DNA of Mario Kart 8, with the speedy electric guitar runs clashing alongside funky brass instruments. And saxophone. Saxophone's not brass. I love the guitar solo at the end of the Zelda's Lullaby section, and just how perfectly it leads into the little Hyrule Field bit. Zelda has so much great music, and I think this track does the series justice. And we're down to the top 50. Every track from this point onward is essentially a certified banger. You've been warned. What am I warning them about? Starting off the top 50 is the song that started it all. Mario Circuit from Super Mario Kart is a classic for a reason. This is just such a weird choice for the main track theme for a racing game. Instead of high-speed thrills and racing melodic lines, it's slow, slightly ambling, and very jazzy. The whole song has a samba feel to it, especially within the piano chords that play through the A section, and that horn is iconic. There's a reason they bring it back for most remixes of the piece. The melody itself is unique, each phrase ending with these show-stopping triplets. While the A section is showy and danceable, the B section is a little more subdued, and the serene chords invoke the feeling of driving down a peaceful road. I love the faithfulness in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of this song. So many instruments transferred over, the piece sounding very similar, but with an updated, more exciting percussion track. Mario Circuit deserves all of the attention it gets. The song is Mario Kart. It really sets the tone that the rest of the series will follow. Not much better, besides 49 other songs. Narrowly beating out Mario Circuit is Airship Fortress from Mario Kart DS. Upbeat and intense, the song is really fitting for a track where you're basically infiltrating an enemy base. Or 2 enemy bases? I think what really sells this one for me are those acoustic guitar chords. They're so rhythmic and complement the song so well. They really give the piece almost a sort of spy feeling. I also like the use of Mario Kart DS's Bowser's Castle theme in this. I honestly like it way better than the way they use it in the actual Mario Kart DS Bowser's Castle, which, as you know, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Speaking of Bowser's Castle, Super Circuit's Bowser Castle is a really good Bowser's Castle theme. It kind of sounds like a more original, less stolen from Mario World version of Super Mario Kart's Bowser's Castle theme. This one is rockin'. Even with the GBA's limited sound capability, the instruments all sound great, especially the electric guitars. I really like the low, grumbly guitar in the main section. And that second section is just so tense with its ascending melody. The song truly shows off the menacing nature of Bowser Castle tracks. The loop is a little bit clunky though, like listen to this. But besides that, this is still a top-tier Bowser's Castle theme. Is 47th too high for Cheeseland? Nah, this is good. In 47th place is Cheeseland from Mario Kart Super Circuit. This one's got a really slow build-up in the beginning, which I find fun, starting with the broken square wave chords before adding in that bass, and finally hitting us with that exciting fast-paced melody. I love how thumping the percussion is in this one. It makes it sound like some sort of club song for cheese fans. And the build-up in the second section really sounds like the bass is dropping. Eat your heart out, Skrillex. The song also gets a huge glow-up in Mario Kart 8, and that Mario Kart 8 sax really knows how to handle that melody line. We also get some really funky chords to accompany it, and there's some amazing brass flourishes to go along with it. They even take some creative liberties with that melody. If the original song is great, the remix is phenomenal. Every element is turned up to 11. I think this is one of the best remixes Mario Kart 8 has ever done of a previous track. And for that, number 47. Mario Kart Stadium is easily one of the best starting track themes in any Mario Kart. It sums up Mario Kart 8's shtick perfectly. Brass, or woodwind, and electric guitar going hand in hand. The main melody line is an exciting fanfare, fitting for being the center of attention at such a massive stadium. Then the bridge is a little calmer, and perfectly builds up to the climax of this piece, the electric guitar beautifully echoing out its amazing melody. Timing-wise, I always felt like this part was supposed to line up with Soaring Through the Air for the first time, and that combination just sells it perfectly. It's a simple melody, but one filled with so much joy and accomplishment. I also love this ending part right before the loop, with the repeated notes played by the strings, and I love that the bass gets to play the melody there too. It's such a nice contrast. This song is the perfect opener for a Mario Kart game, and it lets you know, hey, you're in for a treat with this OST. Sherbert from Mario Kart Double Dash, not to be confused with Sherbert from Mario Kart 64, is easily one of the best snow-themed tracks in the series. The main melody is just so cheerful and jolly. Of all of the snow themes that try to invoke saccharine holiday cheer, this one is, in my opinion, the most successful. And the Double Dash whistle in this piece sounds great. It definitely helps the song reach new heights. The A and B sections are great, but it's that main chorus that really blows me away. The melody line is just so catchy. Mario Kart 8's version is extremely faithful to the original, and really just sounds like an HD remaster of the song. Overall, this is one of Double Dash's finest works. Sweet Sweet Canyon's music lives up to the name. It's sweet. Sweet Sweet Canyon is a non-stop joyous bop. There's a little bit of swing to this song that just keeps it feeling peppy. The accordion was a great choice for this one, and it allows the piece to sound whimsical, like the music for a fun chocolate factory tour. But my favorite part is easily the ending. Those punchy plucked synth notes are an absolute joy. Almost reminds me of something out of Paper Mario. Have I already said this video? The battle course Sweet Sweet Kingdom is very similar and not really worth talking about, but it's also included here. More Mario Kart 8 is up next, now at Super Bell Subway. I like this one a lot. It's reminiscent of what the theme of a third-rate game show would sound like, especially with that low, brassy melody line. And I love when the accordion comes in and adds a little flavor on top. And that blown-out square wave B section just, oh my god, it sounds pretty great. This piece has its own bit of dynamic music in the small, subtle changes during the underground section. The use of the original Super Mario Bros. Underground theme played by the bass is such a great touch. It doesn't dominate the piece or anything, but it adds so much character. The intense bass line creates almost a sense of danger, which is fitting for racing alongside speedy subway trains. This piece would have been great on its own, but the fantastic dynamic music allows it to ascend. Speaking of great dynamic music, Madrid Drive has a lot to be proud of. Starting off, what a great intro, right? Just a short, stunning series of notes before shooting you right in. The piece as a whole does a great job at capturing the style of Spanish music, the whole thing sounding just like flamenco. I think it's the chord progression that especially succeeds in this, having the second tone of the scale being a minor second up from the tonic as opposed to a major second like in most common scales. This is really common in flamenco music, especially how the chord progression switches between A minor and B flat major. The castanets, accordion, and acoustic guitar all work really well together here. And we haven't even gotten to the dynamic aspect of the music yet. When racing through the museum, the instrumentation and general style of the piece switches entirely, shifting to a piano and harpsichord version of the song. It just sounds so fancy in contrast, very fitting of where the music plays. And on top of that, there's a third version of the song, one that plays while passing through the soccer stadium. The song is reduced to chanting, clapping, and the kind of percussion you get when you slap on the side of a guitar. The three versions of the song manage to sound completely different from one another while using the exact same melody. What an absolute musical marvel. Compared to Toad Circuit, which, as you'll recall, I ranked in 141st place, I think Neo Bowser City is a way better adaptation of Mario Kart 7's main theme. Which is why I'm putting Neo Bowser City at 41, 100 places higher than I did with Toad/Mario Circuit. I love the instrumentation and cyberpop style of this. Cyberpop? Is that even a thing? Am I just making up words now? Do I know nothing about music? The quirky, upbeat nature of this piece fits the Mario Kart 7 main theme well, and I love all of the synths used. I find it strange that this song incorporates Toad's Turnpike of all things. I wonder what the connection is there. I have a hard time distinguishing the Mario Kart 8 version of this from the original. It has to be one of the most faithful adaptations out of all of them. Not that that's a bad thing, of course, the original is pretty great. The future is now, I guess. Electrodrome, not making that mistake again, is one of those songs you can't help but bop your head to when listening. I think it's a better music-themed song than Music Park. It just has a beat that won't quit. The synths in this one are all interesting, and each one has a super different timbre and musical envelope from the last, creating a large sense of variety with each one. I like the crunchy synths at the beginning, but I especially like the ones in the second half of the song. There's just something so encouraging about this part. Anyways, great synth showcase for Mario Kart 8, and the way the stage and music interact is such a nice treat. Electrodrome is truly one of the best. Singapore Speedway is an absolute delight, right from the very beginning. Those quick piano chords signal that the song is going somewhere incredible, and it does. The weird high-pitched vocal bits do a lot to give this song a lot of character, and that bombastic synth lead takes charge in a great way. The extended version of the intro that comes before the loop is great. There's such a fun build-up to it all. It's another song you can't really listen to without bopping your head along to the beat. I really like the way the track sounds while driving through the Chinatown portion of the track. The shift in instruments is smooth and seamless. Overall, Singapore Speedway is in my good graces. The music played during Mushroom Bridge and Mushroom City in Mario Kart Double Dash brings such a fast pace and exciting energy to some of the best courses in the game. The piece wastes no time in getting to the point, the jazzy melody shooting out of the starting gate. There's a horn sample used in this piece that's supposed to replicate the sound of a car horn honking, and I just love how it's integrated. The piano adds a lot of excellent backing to the song, and I really don't care that there's a lot of repetition in it, because the bits being repeated just sound that great. Perfect music for driving home from work and running 2 red lights. Thwomp Ruins is my fiance's favorite Mario Kart song. I will be ranking it 37th. Thwomp Ruins out of the gate is fine. Good, even. The 6/8 time signature gives the piece a uniqueness to its beat, and I love the crunchy bass. I have no idea what instrument is playing the main melody, but it works so well in creating a sort of foreignness to the piece. Then the bridge has the gamelan that comes in, a sort of confusing, intense atmosphere created by the dissonance and odd chords played in the background. But then, things straighten out. The chords become consonant once again, and things build up into what is just an absolutely amazing and breathtaking climax. When that flute chimes in, genuine shivers. The flute ekes out a beautiful, celestial melody, while the chanting voices behind it get more intense. It makes me feel so something. Is it happy? Melancholy? Mysterious? I can't exactly say. but what I can say is that Thwomp Ruins manages to wow me every time I hear it. Delfino Square from Mario Kart DS successfully captures the joy and bustling streets of Isle Delfino. That chord progression in the opening is just so happy, like it's the fanfare signaling the good times that are about to roll. The bridge hits with that minor section before building up to the grand finale, just a wonderful melody. It really is one of those songs that sounds like it should have lyrics. And then it returns to the start. But wait, there's actually more. One extra little solo for the song's lead. There's something very triumphant about this one, like the piece is exclusively for winners, something meant to be played for the victory lap. Delfino Square in its own right is a victory in itself, even if it's only scoring 36th place. Yeah! Wario's Gold Mine is probably my favorite of the bluegrassy, banjo-laden pieces of the Mario Kart franchise. And that banjo just never stops going crazy! I love that the fun and whimsical fast-paced sections are broken up by this weirdly intense, bass-boosted part, the tension building with every key change. The dynamic nature of this one is interesting, especially the switch from the cowboy bluegrass part to the part that's nearly all electronic. Good stuff. The Mario Kart 8 version doesn't do anything too crazy, but it has a really nice sounding fiddle, and of course some chanting Shy Guys along the road. This song is jam-packed with good stuff. One might say it's a gold mine? Koopa Cape travels at an absolute breakneck pace, and it's what makes it so fun. The song wastes absolutely no time, with its hectic opener leading right into the iconic melody line. I love how, for the second go of the melody line, the song introduces those bent steel guitar chords, giving the song the feeling of something vaguely tropical. And of course, the instrumentation is constantly changing depending on what the player's doing. Most notable, the submerged underwater version that plays when blazing through the pipe under the ocean. This chill version uses a really similar instrumentation to the new Soup Water level themes, which really drives home the I'm Underwater theme that was special before Mario Kart 7 made it not so. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of the song makes a concerted effort to keep things faithful, although the steel guitar notes definitely sound a lot more pronounced in the remake. The river section sounds a lot different from the original, definitely has a sillier feel to it. I think the instruments have something to do with that. And then there's the fiddle. Good stuff. Another successful dynamic piece from the Mario Kart series. Okay, next bit of controversy. Wario Stadium / Waluigi Pinball from Mario Kart DS is coming in 33rd. Listen, I love this piece. A lot, even. It's certainly fun and funky, and that bass, truly incredible. But I just don't think it's the best, not even the best in Mario Kart DS. But I digress. The melody line is a classic, even if it's just a hair basic. Like, it's a pretty typical blues scale melody. And the B section is kind of just more of the same. That being said, it still sounds great throughout. I do enjoy its slightly faster tempo, slightly more rock and roll Super Smash Bros. Brawl remix like a lot more. And honestly, the Mario Kart 8 remix doesn't really do it for me. I do like the very strange and very attention-demanding main synth of the remix, but I feel like the accompanying chords are way too underpronounced. And if you're not listening carefully enough to it, it just sounds like a melody and bass line on top of the percussion. In the end, I really do like this one, I just think there's a decent handful that are better. DK Jungle is another phenomenal remix of a song from another series, in this case the Donkey Kong Country games. Instead of remixing the song particularly straight, this one manages to invoke the original while also bringing a lot of new to the equation. That running bass line just never stops reaching new heights. After supporting the melody line, which is a wonderful rendition of DK Island Swing, it gets a chance to shine on its own, having a great solo after the main melody finishes. And the horns that come in to accentuate it sound great as well. There's not a single part of this one that sounds bad. Every different element works to create something far greater than the sum of its parts. The Mario Kart 8 version doesn't really try and change anything, it's just a higher quality selection of instruments. An absolutely incredible remix overall, one that even manages to rival the original. Remember when I said earlier, this series has so many great songs that I'm sure even something like Chocolate Island has a very intense fan base? Well, the Chocolate Island fan in question is me. Twist, right? I think there's so much about this song that just works. I love those opening chords. I love those rough opening chords. They're loud and intrusive, but they demand the listener's attention. The main melody is plucky and simple, but still exciting and comforting. I do find the horn in this section a little too loud and intrusive, but I can give it a pass. There's something so bouncy about every single second of this piece. And the low registers of the instruments really invoke the feeling of driving through dirt. I guess it's supposed to be chocolate, but I'm gonna say it's all dirt. I really like the B section of this piece, how the melody retains a lot of the character of the first section, but goes on this completely different journey, with a fun and unique chord progression to go along with it. Definitely one of the best songs in the Super Mario Kart era. Is that a 5/4 time signature I hear? Must be Wildwoods from Mario Kart 8. There's something genuinely magical about this piece. The unique time signature gives it this bouncy, whimsical feel, and the English horn carries the melody beautifully, and the chants of the chorus add some great backing. And that B section is perfect. The flute comes in and calms us, for the piece ramps up with that stunning violin and those intensifying chords. The main motif for this song is that repeating perfect fifth, and the way said motif ends the piece is beautifully done. The piece fits the theme of the magical, mysterious forest absolutely perfectly. It's music right out of a fantasy movie. F-Zero. I think Mute City is the best of all of the Mario Kart songs that are remixes from other series. But man, they really rush into that opening section, huh? Oh well, they do it a little more justice later in the piece. This version of Mute City is fast and furious, there's no time for an extended intro. The saxophone does help it feel like it belongs in Mario Kart 8. I like how the sax and electric guitar play off each other in this, as they do in pretty much every great Mario Kart 8 song, and I absolutely love this part. The sax is just playing the Mute City main melody straight, but the electric guitar is playing a whole different chord progression underneath. There's sort of almost a Baroque fuginess to this part. Fuginess? I can't keep getting away with this. This piece is a success in every way, and is, let's be honest, the best F-Zero content we've gotten in decades. I guess F-Zero 99 is pretty good. Is there any song in the franchise that has a melody line as uplifting and danceable as Sydney Sprint from Mario Kart Tour? None that I can think of. That trumpet line is just unmatched, and it's impossible not to bop your head to the beat of this one. And I love the vocal accompaniment and that little flute melody that plays at the end of each phrase. There's really not a lot to this piece, just trumpet melody section, then sax solo, then the same trumpet melody section, then a different sax solo. I like the sax solos a lot, but they're definitely not the star of the show here. This song has a great beat, killer solos, and a melody line that's so catchy it won't ever leave your head. Sydney Sprint absolutely earns its number 28 spot. From the jazzy and slick Sydney Sprint, we move on to the homey and folksy Moo Moo Meadows, ranking in at 27th. It's honestly a pretty simple, uncomplicated piece. The main melody uses a very basic chord progression for the most part, just 1, 4, and 5 chords. The banjo and recorder play a pretty melodically unchallenging melody. But that's what makes this one just feel so comfy. Something about that broken E minor chord, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, just sounds so captivating after the relative safety of the first section. And that's not even talking about the Mario Kart 8 version. As much as I love the original, the remix in Mario Kart 8 is absolutely breathtaking. Everything just sounds a hair cleaner. The melody line is reduced to just a fiddle, which helps keep things a little unmuddled, and the strings in the minor section add a surprising amount of emotion to the piece. But it's all about the fiddle solo at the end. The melody line just goes rogue, and the only way I can describe it is that it pops off. The way the remix subverts your expectations is masterfully done, and elevates a great piece to an even higher plane of existence. Of all the Mario Karts that have one battle theme that plays for every course, I think Double Dash's is the best. By a mile, even. It's just fun. There's very little, dare I say, no Mario Kart music that's as fun as Double Dash's battle theme. It's tongue-in-cheek, which gives it almost a Saturday morning cartoon feel. This plays in super well to the nature of battle mode, which is all about silly chaos as players attempt to deck each other with shells and banana peels. I'd go as far to say this is the perfect battle track. You couldn't dream up better battle music if you tried. Maple Treeway is stunningly beautiful, right from that breezy acoustic guitar intro. Then the harmonica comes in, and it makes you just want to doze off amidst the autumn leaves. There's something almost hypnotic about it. The soothing bass, the lulling guitar chords, but then the next section hits. The tension builds up a little bit, and those chords get a little more abrasive, as if telling you to wake up. The section that follows is similar to the first section, but with more pep. Sharp, plucky notes which just beg for attention, a pretty great contrast to the soothingness of Part 1. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of the song keeps things pretty faithful, adding a nice harmonica harmony underneath the melody in the A section for a bit. There's a few nice flourish additions and some beautiful sounding strings near the end, but for the most part, these different versions are pretty similar. Now if you excuse me, I suddenly feel like I need a nap. No time for napping now because Piranha Plant Pipeline is a never-ending bop. The star of the show here is definitely the bass line. The piano and electric bass in unison together just give the piece its seedy character. And the counter melody the vibraphone plays contrasts the main synth horn melody pretty well. Of course, I couldn't not mention the smooth and seamless integration of the Mario Underground theme. The Mario Kart 8 version sounds great as well, even if the bass is giving a little less of the spotlight. I like these repeated square notes in the highest register, and these 8-bit sections of the remix work really well, properly invoking bits and pieces of the original Underground theme. I think Shroom Ridge is one of the best showcases of the Mario Kart DS sound font. These choppy, crunchy instruments all work together to create something way greater than the sum of their parts. There's a great beat to Shroom Ridge. It's funky and poppy at the same time. Right out the gate, the horns get a great opportunity to shine in this one, and pair nicely with the bass for the song's intro. The main synth that plays most of the melody also fits right in, but that's not even the best part. Everything builds up to the song's climax, which is just, listen. That section is just incredible. The ascending bass line with the decidedly happy melody line creates something so triumphant. Music meant for winners once again. As good as the original is, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version amps it up in some great ways. There's more of a consistent chord backing in this one. Some sort of electric piano is having a field day here. The melody line sounds great and is pretty faithful to the original synth. The climax of this piece is as amazing as ever, with the brass licks giving it so much character. Both versions are just absolutely wonderful, making Shroom Ridge my absolute favorite song from Mario Kart DS. I don't know what it is about Amsterdam Drift that compels me so, but from a glance, it's a pretty simple piece. The accordion dominates the entire thing, playing throughout, with some occasional assistance from the toy piano and some bassy vocals. But something about this one just speaks to me. There's something so brisk about it. The accordion just never stops. Together with the vocals and percussion, particularly the jaw harp, it just feels very folksy and happy. It's a song of the people. It represents its home country well and makes me wish I could be frolicking among the tulips in Amsterdam. If only. Just narrowly missing the top 20, Coconut Mall drives its way into the 21st spot. This song is iconic. I'd wager it's one of the most famous songs from the Mario Kart franchise, at least on the internet. There's a solid chance that if you've seen my Mario Kart medley, it was recommended off of a Coconut Mall meme video. Anyways, even beyond the meme, this song is fantastic. The cheeriness just doesn't end. The quick, upbeat swing keeps it feeling fresh, even through what's kind of a basic chord progression. The piano does most of the heavy lifting in this one, especially throughout the main section, but that saxophone gets some time in the spotlight, getting its own little section just after the main bit. And then the accordion comes in while the piano plays a beautiful jazzy run in the bass. It's almost relaxing, like this part is supposed to represent how it feels once the shopping is done. Coconut Mall almost feels like some sort of musical story. It's a funny song, it's a fun song, and it's a great song. For that, 21. Delfino Pier is an absolute joy to listen to. The song sets up this cute, clean intro, lowering the listener's expectations, before going off on this huge tangent, the accordion wasting no time before its crazy run of notes, the accompanying bass and chords managing to perfectly keep up, and afterwards, right back to the melodic motif set up by the intro. And then this piano part? Absolute perfection. If I'm being honest, the section that follows is a little cluttered. I think the bass drum is just a little too intrusive, but it's a small price to pay for the rest of the song. And when the bass drum cuts out and we get the accordion playing along with that melodic flute, we're so back. It's one of those songs where the loop mesmerizes me. Once I reach the end of the song, I just can't bring myself not to listen to the beginning again. And the fact that this is all happening on a battle track, just hidden away in the game's side mode, it's almost criminal, especially considering this song succeeds in every single way. Sky Garden manages to be truly exciting, despite the limited sound capabilities of the GBA. I love that horn intro, and even if the bass is a little bland to begin with, that square wave playing above the main melody line keeps things interesting. The song wastes no time before changing keys, shifting from D-flat major to E major for the B section. And that's when things get exciting. The melody line here is perfect, it's incredibly singable. But if you think the B section is the peak of the song, everything shifts again, and the main melody of the C section is just pure beauty. The flute's melody is ethereal, and the accompanying chords give it such a nice backing. It's just a shame it loops back so quickly after this. I would have loved to hear more of the musical idea featured in this section. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version is fully modernized, taking the original and changing pretty much everything. The instrumentation is completely different, the soft flute from the original replaced with, you guessed it, a saxophone. Do I like the change? Hard to say, I do kinda miss the flute. But the guitars in the B section do sound great, and the accompanying horn flourishes really accentuate things. The C section does reach its full potential. I do think the sax and oboe, perhaps, work well together as a melody and harmony for this bit. Sky Garden is my favorite music track in all of Mario Kart Super Circuit. Mount Wario. Oh man, what a journey. This piece is frankly awesome. Mario Kart has had a lot of dynamic music in its day, but nothing as unique as this. Usually it's all about adding / removing / changing layers on top of an existing track, commonly referred to as vertical reorchestration. But for this track, they actually change the entire song based on where you are in the track. playing wholly new sections depending on how far you are, referred to as horizontal resequencing. I love that the first lap's track feels exciting, but not particularly happy or joyous. It mostly uses perfect intervals in its melody without giving you much in the way of major or minor notes. And then the second lap, when you're in the dam, it just feels a little more sinister, like you're doing something more dangerous than you should be doing. Then, when you're racing through the trees, it changes again, the suspension building with the tenuous violin melody. Things are building, but they don't sound particularly happy or sad, just intense. And finally, everything comes to a head for the final lap, the grand finale. The melody isn't afraid to sound joyous as you race down the mountain for the final leg. There are few Mario Kart courses with as brilliant and cohesive musical storytelling as Mount Wario, and that alone earns it a spot near the very top of the list. Mario Kart Wii follows the Mario Kart 64 school of thought with its Bowser's Castle theme. Rather than being fast-paced, loud, and in-your-face, Wii Bowser's Castle is slow, intimidating, and takes a while to build. Starting out with the 8-bit reference to Super Mario Bros. Castle theme, the piece immediately changes gear, favoring spanning, droning notes over top-speed action. The melody the piano plays is bone-chilling. It almost sends shivers down my spine just to hear it. And then the organ kicks in, the strings playing a dissonant, chromatic melody on top. The intensity fades as things get quiet. A gong rings out as the strings begin to play their somber melody. There's an intrinsic sadness to it, but it also feels hopeful, like even through the darkness of Bowser's Castle, a light shines through. It's surprisingly intense for Mario Kart music. It makes me feel something. Anyways, it's interesting that this song uses a minor version of the Maple Treeway motif. I wonder what the connection is there. Mario Kart Wii easily has my absolute favorite Bowser's Castle theme in the series. I don't think it even comes close. Vancouver Velocity velocitizes its way into 16th place. Those block piano chords at the beginning really signal that great things are to come, and then they do. The contrast between the beautiful legato strings and the pumped up bass give this piece both the feeling of something chilly and wintry, and also cool and danceable. And when the synth takes over for the B section, everything just gets so lovely. The strings accompany the melody nicely while the synth takes us on its journey. The song is mostly electronic, and most of the synths used are just gorgeous. I especially like this part near the end. I don't think the melody line is anything special per se, but the atmosphere of the piece, as well as the instrumentation, boosts it up into being one of the best songs from Mario Kart Tour. Thwomp Desert is yet another Mario Kart desert track that uses the same stereotypical desert sounding. Okay, so yeah, that's wrong. The Mario Kart series clearly has a formula for writing desert songs. Usually not the fastest tempos, typically some sort of sitar or other quote-unquote exotic sounding instrument, a Phrygian scale, etc., etc. Well, Mario Kart Wii decided to throw away the mold apparently, because Thwomp Desert does absolutely none of that. The piece travels at an absolute breakneck pace, adding to the sheer chaos and thwomp smashing of the course. The acoustic guitar and violin get the spotlight of this one, and while the chord progression they play is a little cheesy, it works just because of how good it sounds. There are times when the desert shows through, especially during this ominous and slowly building section near the end, but that only works in the track's favor, giving us a song that fits for the circular desert arena and also sounds cool as hell. Thwomp Desert is, in my opinion, the best battle course theme in the entire series. Shy Guy Falls is fun, speedy, and consistently shifting to keep the listener on their toes. I really like the choice of instruments in this one a lot. The flute and guitar really gives it an almost Peruvian flavor. No section of this song feels wasted. Every second feels integral to the piece as a whole. And when that key changes and the fiddle kicks in, pure perfection. Every element of this song works, and the rhythmic Shy Guy chanting manages to add so much character to an already fantastic course. Shy Guy Falls is amazing from start to finish. Dry Dry Ruins is the best desert track in Mario Kart. Did Mario Kart Wii just miss the memo that desert tracks were supposed to be slow and uninteresting? I think this one manages to find a happy middle place between the overtly stylized deserty song that most Mario Kart games use and the fast-paced originality featured in Thwomp Desert. The piece still feels very traditionally video game-style desert, but going through the motions, this one is not. Right from that intro, you just know this one is going to be different. I really like the circular motion the main melody takes. It kind of feels like it's just going round and round. But the melody is just so upbeat and plucky, and I love the B section. The synth that comes in is so choppy and tense, breaking up the pacing in an extremely interesting way. And when the main melody returns, the strings that back it up add so much interesting character. The notes the string play rise slowly as the melody continues, building the tension as things trek on. This track has some dynamic music as everything changes when entering the Ruins section of Dry Dry Ruins. The section that plays within the structure is interesting. It's kind of boring, honestly, although I don't mind the chord progression, just doesn't hold a candle to the main section. Dry Dry Ruins is an absolute delight and easily beats any other desert themed song in a heartbeat. Berlin Byways is wow. I guess the only place to start is the beginning. That opening trap beat is just insane. Like, it almost feels like it doesn't belong in a Mario Kart game. All of those synths sound so great together, and the bass just eats at your soul. As the song builds to the drop, it's almost surprising to hear those acoustic horns come in. But then, as the drop hits, the true identity of the song becomes clear to the listener. This isn't just some electric club song, it's also a trip to the symphony. What an absolutely excellent way to represent Germany's history with classical music, especially considering that the musical GOAT was German. This mix of modernity and classical perfectly represents the city of Berlin. It's a level of creativity you don't see particularly often, and it's absolute ear candy. I'm glad their creative idea panned out in such a successful and exciting way. Just narrowly, and this time I really mean narrowly, missing the top 10, Toad Factory. After the brief intro, that piano bit is jaw-dropping. The low-cut frequency they put on it gives it this crunchy and dirty feel, like it's coming through a transistor radio, and those bluesy chords give me chills every time. Nothing better conveys the factory setting, truly music of the working man. Oh, and the rest of the song is good too, I guess, although nothing lives up to that beginning. The main melody is pretty great, and the horn has some great licks throughout, but if it wasn't for that piano in the beginning giving me goosebumps every time I hear it, this piece would have been considerably lower. As it is though, number 11. Alright, we've officially reached the big boys. These next 10 songs are what I'd consider the absolute cream of the crop of the Mario Kart series, a franchise already known for its consistently good music. I've been shuffling the order of these 10 songs around constantly because I just couldn't decide which ones I liked the most, but here we go. Da na 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 da na 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 dun da 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 da. I like the song for that part. Okay, the whole song is great. From the absolute chaos that is the opening chord section to the victorious and regal trumpet melody that follows. I like that the bridge has a bit of tension to it. Really invokes the feeling of the thundercloud section of the chorus. But from that tension builds up to, let's be real, one of the best motifs ever written for a video game. It wasn't written for this video game, but man is it excellent. This track has some pretty neat dynamic music to it, the sweeping orchestra replaced by the shredding electric guitars while racing amidst the lightning storm. It really adds to the tension of this very dangerous part, but it definitely feels a little lesser than the main section. Like, whenever I'm playing this course, I want that Mario Galaxy motif to hit when the orchestra is playing, goddammit. Cloud Top Cruise is exciting, thrilling, and chaotic all at once, and in my eyes, just barely makes it into the top 10 Mario Kart track themes of all time. In my humble opinion, the best circuit theme in the series comes from Double Dash. I don't think anything's been able to top this one. The embodiment of every musical fingerprint that Double Dash has, the music for Luigi's Circuit, Mario Circuit, and Yoshi Circuit consists of upbeat melodies, sing-song whistles, and a bombastic horn section. Double Dash Circuit wastes no time either, jumping right in with a great hook, immediately letting the player know what they're in for, as they scramble to make their way past the starting gate. Every section of this one is good, but it's the chorus that shines brighter than the rest. It's a simple enough melody, but one filled with so much joy, the exact type of music you'd want to hear blazing down the road, dodging chain chomps and Big Egg. Everything about this works, and in my opinion, this song is Double Dash come to life. The Mario Kart 8 version manages to keep the identity of the original while also expounding on it. Like, even with the updates, this still feels very Double Dash. The whistle is carried over, and while the horns are modernized, they still have the same tenacity they did over 20 years ago. Double Dash's circuit theme is my favorite track theme in Mario Kart Double Dash. When you start racing through Dolphin Shoals for the very first time, the music sounds nice. The main melody is pretty simple, based pretty heavily on the second and first degree notes of the scale. Jaws has its famous half-step motif, Dolphin Shoals has its whole step. The guitar supplies most of the depths to this piece, playing a fun and rhythmic series of chords to back the steel drum melody. It's very tropical, fitting for a light underwater jaunt. But then, as you get deeper into the water, something happens. The bass starts to become more prominent, and the guitar disappears. The reverb off the steel drum is spooky, making you think you're deep, deep in the depths of the sea. If the music only consisted of these two parts, Dolphin Shoals would have been a pretty solid piece of music, nothing particularly memorable, but something to rival the other beach-themed tracks across the series. But then, you emerge from the water, and everything changes. Once you're back on the surface level, what greets you is the wailing, beautiful melody played by the main character of Mario Kart 8, the saxophone. At this point, the sax takes over the main melody of the song, adding so much character as it does. The full version of this jazzy takeover is unfortunately not featured in the track, which is a shame because it has an absolutely amazing saxophone solo. Breathtaking. I think Dolphin Shoals is the best showcase of Mario Kart 8 saxophone, and is just in general a massive achievement of musical composition. I'll never forget just how strongly this piece blew my mind 10 years ago when I first played it. Dolphin Shoals more than deserves its spot at number 8 and is my favorite track theme in all of Mario Kart 8. Is there a more perfect song to play for the adorable, sunset-laden track that is Daisy Circuit? I don't think so. The song is just extremely cute. The piano gets to take center stage for this one, and it doesn't disappoint, perfectly accompanied by a fun bass line and some shake-a-shake-a percussion. The accordion also gets some spotlight, adding to the sheer coziness of the piece. And when that chorus hits, pure magic. Everything builds to this catchy, constantly climbing melody line. As it rises into the upper register, it's really hard not to simultaneously feel a rise in spirit. The original is pure perfection, but that perfection is somehow made even more perfect in the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of the song. It's crazy how much the difference between a tinny piano sample and a beautiful live piano can make. And the additional strings amp up the climax of the piece to even higher heights, making an exciting melody feel even more sweeping and downright beautiful. Daisy Circuit is one of those songs that you can't listen to and not just feel happier afterwards. And for the joy this one brings me, it ends up in the number 7 spot. Now for a completely different vibe, number 6 is Ninja Hideaway from Mario Kart Tour. Another one of those perpetual head-banging pieces, I just can't help myself but to move when I'm listening to it. What an absolutely amazing blend of traditional Japanese instruments and melodic ideas and modern electronic music. The shamisen and lead synths blend into each other so well that you wouldn't even consider the possibility that they belong to two completely different sects of music. The main melody follows a similar scale to a lot of traditional Japanese music, while being played on a weird, pitchy synth. Truly, this piece feels like the embodiment of ninjas running around a cyberpunk future. This song is filled with surprises until the very end, fitting of the tricky and mysterious ninja house that this song is home to. For all of this, Ninja Hideaway is my favorite track from Mario Kart Tour. Moonview Highway is an absolute non-stop thrill ride of a song. There's something extremely panicked about it, which is fitting for music that plays while fighting for your life on dangerous roads. The piece is admittedly pretty short, the main melody line repeating for most of the song, but it's such an interesting and challenging motif that I don't get tired of hearing it over and over again. I also love the little section that breaks up this melody line. There's almost something sad about it, a chaotic sort of melancholy belted out by the Supersaw synth. I also love the horns that come in and play alongside the melody, adding another layer of intensity to this part. What really sells this one, however, is the dynamic nature of the track. The heavily electronic version only plays for the highway portions of the course. While racing through the city proper, the instrumentation and arrangement change completely, switching from booming electronica to fast-paced jazz. The staccato saxophone takes the main melody line and the vibraphone swaps in for the B section. The versatility of this piece is truly incredible, how the melody sounds right at home as both a bass-boosting techno rave and a new age jazz instrumental. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of this piece manages to amp things up without changing too much, making it feel much like the definitive version of the track. The electronic bass drum hits a lot harder in this version, adding to the club-like feel that this song has. I also absolutely love the piano chords that play in the jazzy city version of the piece. Everything about it just sounds so good. Moonview Highways is, in my eyes, one of the more underrated Mario Kart Wii track themes. As much as I hear people talk about Toad Factory, Daisy Circuit, and Coconut Mall, I feel like Moonview Highway tends to fly under the radar. Well, not for me. Moonview Highway is my 5th favorite Mario Kart track theme. Now, observant listeners might have realized that the only songs left are Rainbow Road themes. And that's simply because Rainbow Road themes tend to be extraordinary. A spanning, victorious song to act almost as the credits theme for its particular game. Rainbow Road is the end. It's the victory lap after Bowser's Castle. And the music often reflects that. I believe these 4 Rainbow Road themes are the best 4 track themes in all of Mario Kart. Starting off with the original. Super Mario Kart's Rainbow Road theme is an absolutely timeless classic. There's a reason it was featured in a climactic moment of the Mario movie of all places. The synth horns that play throughout the song really sell it, even when they're just playing backup for the main xylophone melody for the first half of the piece. This part is whimsical but uncertain. There's not really a clear melodic center within the xylophone, giving it a feel of intensity but unsureness. However, the melody does resolve, perfectly leading things into, well, the best part. The horn section plays the most rewarding, triumphant chord progression imaginable, making the player almost feel like a goddamn superhero. There's something a little somber about the ending progression. It's almost sentimental, as if it's reflecting on how far you've come. The Mario Kart 8 version is great in its own right, but honestly, I don't care for the synths that replace the original horns. I feel like there's almost some magic lost in this version. I can't really put my finger on why. The chords feel less triumphant. Another instance of the original outshining the remix. This song is admittedly pretty short, and there's not much to it besides these 2 sections, but it's the perfect embodiment of Rainbow Road. Airy, whimsical, and victorious. Not much tops it. Rainbow Road is my favorite course theme in Super Mario Kart. As a course, I vehemently hate Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road. In fact, it would probably be near the bottom of my ranking of every Mario Kart track. This, however, is a ranking of Mario Kart music. And Lord, is this song important, majestic, all of the above? Talk about Super Mario Kart's Rainbow Road feeling like a triumphant fanfare. This piece somehow manages to go above and beyond. Mario Kart 64 Rainbow Road is phenomenal. It's exactly what a Rainbow Road theme should be. It makes the player feel like they've accomplished something, and this is their reward. It doesn't help that this track is garbage. Why is it so long? Of course, the A section is great. That perfect 5th-based melody is iconic. But everyone knows why this song is beloved some 30-odd years later. It's that B section. The key shifts from E major to A major, and with it, an absolutely beautiful, sentimental melody rings out. One of the most iconic melodies in any Nintendo game. So iconic they've used it in like 2 other Rainbow Road themes. This song is Mario Kart. After those 2 sections, they basically do it again, but with a mediocre electronic guitar sample. And honestly, I don't really like it nearly as much as the flute utilized in the first half. But the first half is all you need. The Mario Kart 8 version of the song is pretty great in its own right, but similar to Mario Kart 8's remix of Super Mario Kart's Rainbow Road theme, I do think some of the magic is lost from the original. I think part of what makes the original so iconic is that dulcet saccharine flute. And you do kind of lose that with the big focus on horns and electric guitar. That being said, it still sounds phenomenal. Rainbow Road is my favorite course theme in Mario Kart 64. Speaking of songs that utilize Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road theme, Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road theme is a modern classic. Although, can it really be considered modern at this point? There's almost something poppy about this one, absolutely the type of melody line that could easily be replaced by a voice. The chord progression is extremely pretty, and together with the melody, it truly makes the song feels like it's the music of champions. Mario Kart 64's Rainbow Road theme is used so beautifully in this one, feeling seamless with its presence, and I love how the final lap of the course jumps directly to that point, making this piece feel like a beautiful blend of old and new. I love the dynamic element of this Rainbow Road, the Moon version sounding a lot more lo-fi than the original, the percussion completely abandoned. This gentler, atmospheric version gives the player a nice change of pace, keeping things from feeling too stale. The version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is again just not as good as the original. I just think it's really hard to top the original incarnations of these Rainbow Road songs. In the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version, the instruments just sound a bit choppier, and the percussion is a bit too prominent. It gives too much of a club feeling to what's supposed to be a beautiful drive-through space. Rainbow Road is my favorite course theme in Mario Kart 7 and my second favorite Mario Kart track theme of all time. And now, time for the best. If anything, this project has made me realize just how good Mario Kart Wii's soundtrack is. 8 out of the top 20 tracks on this list were from Mario Kart Wii. And my favorite Mario Kart track theme of all time is Mario Kart Wii's Rainbow Road. There's an intrinsic beauty to this piece. The light-hearted, fluty synth is masterfully accompanied by a soft and comforting E-piano, and the melody the flute plays is just so gorgeous it kind of makes you want to cry. But I won't. I love that for the second iteration of the melody, the strings play an absolute joyous rendition of Good Egg Galaxy from Mario Galaxy, the 2 space themes working perfectly in tandem. The 2 rival melody lines play off of each other in such a great way, leading into this synth-heavy bit before the key change, the melody shifting into another gorgeous run to accompany the many, many times you'll fall off this track. There's a certain happiness to this song, one that's almost necessary for a good Rainbow Road theme. You made it. This is your treat. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe theme manages to keep things relatively faithful to the original, not really changing much besides an updates to the instruments used. I think this version is my favorite, keeping the spirit of the original, but updated for a more modern era of video game music. And I love how the saxophone is integrated into the song. It's fitting that this course and track theme are the send-off for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC. I couldn't think of a better way to end things. Rainbow Road is my favorite track theme in Mario Kart Wii, and my favorite track theme in all of Mario Kart. Well, there you have it. 146 songs from across the Mario Kart franchise, ranked according to my very specific tastes. What did you think? Did I rank your favorite too low? Your least favorite too high? Are you a Block Plaza defender? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this journey across the wonderful, wonderful soundtrack of the Mario Kart series, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Mario Kart 64 sucked.